I also struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. If you start to feel like you are twisting things around you and you start to feel like there is no sunlight around you and you are paralyzed with fear, here's how you can help yourself.
First, you have to understand what anxiety is. Then you have to understand the connection between worrying and self-doubt and the connection with anxiety.
Anxiety is what happens when your habit of worrying spirals out of control. It's important for you to foundationally understand that anxiety and worry are the same thing. It's just that your body starts to get agitated, and that's when we call worrying anxiety. Your heart races. You might sweat a little bit. You might feel tightening in your chest. You might feel a pit in your stomach. You have a surge of cortisol. You can actually beat it. This is how you're going to do it. So all day long, you're going to have moments where your thoughts drift. Like you'll just be hanging out with your friends and then suddenly you're like, I'm not sure that that person likes me anymore. I haven't heard from my kids lately. I wonder if they're dead or, as I check, like you just start worrying about stuff. Why? Because it's a habit. Because when you're not paying attention, your brain shifts from you being a decision maker and paying attention to you just kind of spinning things on autopilot, and one of your habits is worrying. The second you wake up and you notice, holy cow, I'm talking some negative garbage to myself right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've just shifted the part of the brain. You've shifted from the basal ganglia, which is where your habit loops are spinning, and you've awakened your prefrontal cortex. You've also interrupted that pattern. Now what you're going to do, because your mind is actually ready to receive a different thought because of the counting, now you can put in an anchor thought. Like if you have a mantra, if you've got a vision about the way that your business is going to turn out in 5 years, if you just have a thought that makes you really happy and proud, insert that. Now, why does this work? It works because of the counting. And I'm not kidding. We know, based on research, that positive thinking alone, not effective. In some instances, trying to force yourself to think positive can actually make the worries worse. Why? Well, the reason why is because it's really hard to just change the channel. What we have to do first is basically interrupt it and turn off the TV, and then turn it back on with the prefrontal cortex awakened. So the counting is essential. And so you can start using this today.
And the problem that I have with anxiety is the physiological side of it. I got shallow breathing, rapid heart rate, and most terrifyingly, the blood is actually leaving the prefrontal cortex. And so you're getting into a position where your higher level cognition is actually being shut down because it doesn't have blood flow. And then I began to visualize that what I was trying to do was get myself into a calm state where the blood could actually go back to the places that I needed it, so that my higher level ability to reason would kick back in. The first thing that I started to do to be able to consciously control that was meditate. In meditating, what you're learning to do, at least for me, and I don't consider myself a meditation expert by any means, but this was one of the huge wins for me in meditating, was learning to breathe from my diaphragm. Even one breath from my diaphragm had a really big impact. Breathing from your diaphragm instead of from your chest, right? So most people breathe like this, and it's all in your upper chest. You're not getting a very deep breath. So in meditating and learning to breathe from your diaphragm and learning to consciously calm yourself down, meaning you're lowering your heart rate, you're breathing much more deeply from the diaphragm, getting the blood reallocated to the parts of the brain that are actually useful. That meditating was my first step into that.
When there are really hard times, there are so many tools that you can use to help yourself in those times, and it does get better and easier as life goes on and you start to get to know yourself more and what will trigger certain instances of anxiety and where you feel comfortable and safe. So I would just say, don't ever feel like you're a weirdo for it, because we're all weirdos.
It doesn't matter how low you have sunk, where you are in life, no matter how terrible your situation is. As long as you have life, this is not the end. This is not the end of your story. There are more chapters in the book of your life. I know what hard life is. I know that you can't stop thinking about what is hurting you. I know that it is difficult for you right now. But I can assure you that if you stick it out a little while longer, this terrible moment that is existing in your life will pass. Be committed to using your pain as pilot. Use it to build your character. Use it to make you stronger. And as long as you're looking at things in a different perspective, things in a positive direction, and you use your pain as growth, this will change your life. Right now, the world is going through a mental health crisis. There is statistical proof that half of the world has suffered from depression at least some point in their life. It is important to document why we get down, why we are in depression, and how we can make a positive change. Be grateful for every situation that you have in this life. Gratitude will create satisfaction, which in turn leads to happiness and positivity. This will then give a new direction and a definition of success, life, and satisfaction. The life we live is most in our mind. Our deepest reflection of how we see life and its reflections often come from our thought process and mental mathematics. There are always two sides of looking at life, and one of them is to count what you don't have, and this often leads to anxiety, dissatisfaction, and many times mild depression. The other way, which automatically translates into being motivational, is for depression and other mental maladies, is to focus on the positive. Remember that troubles don't last always. And when you arise in the morning, think of what privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. Get up each day and work on yourself, and remember that there may be someone else depending on you. You don't have to be great to start, but if you start, there is a possibility of greatness that will come, and you will never know how it will come. So get up and try again, try a little harder, keep pushing, keep going, because life sometimes will hand us surprises that we would not believe. Don't question yourself, why is this happening to me? Don't look at yourself with pity. Because as long as you fight through the pain, others will look at you with hope and not pity. Away with the victim story. Most of us have gone through the most difficult period in our lives, but it is who stays on top. It is who pushed through the greatest ordeal will survive. The most important thing about the situation that you're going through at this time is to stay in a positive frame of mind. And when you stay in a positive frame of mind, you can defeat the enemy, you can defeat the voices in your head, and you can press forward with clarity and strength. My friends, you deserve to go through the positive experiences in this life, and you owe it to the world to show them how powerful you are. Know that you are more than worthy, and when others see what you've been through, they will get the inspiration to say, if he or she does it or did it, then I can do it too.
Seeking inspiration, needing motivation, Nacola is the one. Sharing tips to cope, bringing